For this next video, we're going to go ahead and talk about the architecture of the Genero Report Writer. Just to review a couple things that we talked about in the introductory slide, the architecture is going to be based on XML standards. So we have an XML data stream. The data stream is coming across in XML. Our report design file, which is a .4rp file, is also in XML. And the SVG output, which is the output when you're using the Genero Report Viewer, is also in XML. The gathering of data is going to be separate from the layout. We'll see this when we look at each individual component. And that means that the same data can be used to print many different reports in different formats. So you have one data stream that then can be applied to multiple report design files or multiple .4rp files. And it's end-to-end streaming, which means we print as we go. So as soon as we get enough information to display that first page, we can display that first page. This is not if we're using PDF. You'll find that you can output to a printer, you can output to the report viewer, you can output to PDF. If you're outputting to PDF, just the internals of the PDF format don't support the end-to-end streaming, so you'll only see the report when the entire PDF is done. This architecture diagram shows you the components that make up the Genero Report Writer. The Genero Report Writer has some sort of data source. The data source could be a database, or it could be any XML file. For the purpose of the training that we're doing here, we're going to always connect and use a database, but realizes that it can be an alternate source of data as well. The Genero DVM is going to execute the BDL application that extracts the data from the data source and then streams it across to the report engine. Our DVM is going to be running a BDL report. The BDL report is going to be responsible for using standard SQL to extract that data and then send it across in an XML data stream to our report engine. The report engine is going to take this data stream from the DVM and it's going to format the results according to a specified report design document. So we have the Genero Report Designer, and the Report Designer is your GUI interface that allows you to go out there and create and format reports and create a report design document or the .4rp file. When you create a report design, you're going to be using something we call a data view, and we'll talk about a data view in a few slides. The Genero Report Engine is then going to send the page document across to perhaps the Genero Report Viewer, which is part of the Genero desktop client that allows you to view the report. It provides an online report viewer. Alternatively, you could send your report directly to a printer. You can save it as an image. You can save it as a PDF file. In upcoming versions, you'll also be able to export to Excel. But that's sending the information from the Genero Report Engine across to however you've decided you want that report to be output. The next few slides, we're going to go and look at each of these sections separately. So the first thing I want to just look at is the application that's going out there to gather your data and stream it across to the Genero Report Engine. In order to gather this data, you're going to create a BDL report application. The BDL report application is not what you're used to if you've coded BDL applications that create reports with earlier versions of the Genero product. We do provide reporting APIs that are designed specifically for use with Genero Report Writer. But when all is said and done, you are writing BDL code, and if you're creating an application, and that application is responsible for going and extracting the data from the database, and then when the application of course runs on the DVM, it's going to stream it across in an XML data stream to the Genero Report Engine. Now we're going to look at the Genero Report Designer. Now, rather than code the layout of the report using 4GL, you now use a graphical designer, so you have a UI interface out there to help you design the report. It's near WYSIWYG. When we get into Report Designer, we'll understand why I say near WYSIWYG. But it allows you to use drag and drop and use a UI to help you design your report. What this means is you don't have to be a 4GL developer to design your report. You still need to have some understanding of how data is grouped, what data types are, and things that will influence how the information or how the fields are placed onto that report, but you don't need to know BDL itself. Earlier we talked about the separation of the extraction of data and the design of the report, and it's the Genero Report Engine that is going to use these two inputs to produce your formatted report. Your formatted report may be SVG, which means it displays in our report viewer. It's XML that displays in the report viewer. It could be PDF, it could be an image, it could be sent to the printer. There's a variety of outputs, but the Genero Report Engine's main function is to take the design that you've created and apply it to a data stream that's being sent across by the application. So it's inside of the GRE that the layouting is actually happening. It calculates where to position the objects, how to render them, and this GRE can run on a server. So it's typical, or it's just the same as having a separation where you have your database on a separate server. The application can be running anywhere, but it's going to stream across to the GRE. They could be on the same box, they could be on separate boxes. This also shows how you can have different report designs, and it's the inclusion of a specific report design plus a data stream that's going to influence how the report looks when it's output. So I have a data stream coming across. If I apply a new report design, I'm going to have a different looking output of that same data. So viewing the report occurs on the end user's client. It's similar to the GDC. In fact, the Genero Report Viewer, or GRV, is now included as part of the GDC. So the Genero Report Viewer allows you to view what we call SVG report. The SVG reports, as we discussed earlier, it's XML that's being allowed to view. Alternatively, and you'll specify this using a reporting ABI to tell us how you want it output, you could have put it out to PDF, you could have put it out to an image viewer, you could have output it directly to a printer. So you have other options, but if you want to just view it online quickly and view it as it streams in, you would use the Genero Report Viewer. The last piece of the architecture I want to talk about is what we call the RDD file, or the data view. When I start to design my report, I need to know what information is being streamed across by my application. And the way we do this is through an RDD file. The RDD file is created according to your BDL application. So we have a step in there where once I've written my BDL report application, I'm going to extract the information to create the RDD file. Then when I go to design a report, I select which RDD file I want to use as my basis so that I know what fields are being streamed across. So what type of files are going to be involved in this architecture of the Genero Report Writer? Well, we're going to have our 4GL files, our Genero 4GL source files. For those are the report applications that are going to be extracting our data and sending it across into XML data stream. We're going to have an RDD file, and that's the report, the definition of the data definition and the structure. And that's what's input into our report designer, allowing us to know what fields we're allowed to include in our report. We have XML. XML is the data stream that's being sent across. It allows you can go ahead and have a report application, just create an XML file, and then use that XML file as input into your report designer, meaning you don't have to select the data from the database multiple times. You have a 4RP file. That is our report design document. The 4RP file is created when you use Form Designer. And then we have different output formats based upon what you select. So if you're sending it to Report Viewer, it's SVG. If you're sending it to PDF, of course, it's PDF. If you want to send it to an image, you can choose between JPEG, PNG, MBP, and a variety of other image formats. So your different output formats would, of course, have these different file extensions involved. So what is the process that we use to create a report for Genero Report Designer? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to determine your report requirements. What is it that the report needs to do? And this is like any time you design a report. You need to know what it is you're trying to solve or what it is you're trying to show before you start going into to design it. The next step is to organize the project workspace. With Genero Report Designer or Genero Report Writer, there's a specific project workspace organization that's going to best suit this tool, and we'll talk about that when we start to actually develop reports. You're then going to go and create the Genero Report application. It's written in Genero BDL. You can write it all from scratch, but we've also provided a report data wizard. And you can use the report data wizard to basically create most of your Genero report application. I'll be showing you that in the next module. Once we have our report developed, we're going to go and generate the RDD file. So that's going to it uses FGL comp. It goes against my Genero report application, and then it outputs an RDD file, which is known as the data view. And that data view is going to be input into our report design document. So once we know what data is going to be sent across, we can use that RDD file or that data view. We open up Report Designer, and we can use the graphical interface to drag and drop and design our report. Once our report is designed, then we can go into the testing. We can run the report application. We execute the report. It selects what report design to use, and it outputs it by default in the Genero Report viewer. Unless you specify that you do want it to go to PDF or you do want it to go to an image file, if you do want it to go to a printer. Otherwise, it's going to be viewed in this Genero Report viewer. So this is the overall process for creating a report. Over the next few modules, you're going to learn more about each of these steps, and you'll have a chance to see me work with these and see me implement these in Genero Studio itself, so that you can understand the details behind each step.